Well, I didn't even know we were going to be recording, but I was told to make sure we record. So we will be recording. Hope you're okay.
That's okay.
I consent.
Okay.
So we have attendees starting to filter in.
Okay. So don't let me get started without letting people know.
Okay.
Recording. Okay. This is really fun. I think you're really, really going to enjoy this.
Super excited. Can't wait.
Good.
I've been like attending like the webinars for like other schools, like potential schools, and just kind of watching them religiously almost. And so it's just interesting being on the other side of it, and you know, just like being on the panel and kind of what goes into it. And but from the ones I've seen and like attended, they're always fun. Just to tune in. Like,
That's
I don't know. So, yeah, I'm stoked.
I did not click record. It's already recorded. Sorry, Lindsay just texted me. No, I did not click record.
Okay. Well, maybe it was just set up by orientation to go ahead and record. So we just want to.
Because webinar
folks
probably can't. Are you? Where does it say it's recording? Oh, up there.
In the top left.
Oh, it's recording. Okay.
So maybe it looks like we have 43 attendees, 44 and counting. So maybe we'll give
Do
it
we have to let them in?
No, they're in right now. So we'll just maybe give it another minute or two to let some other folks filter in, and then we can get started with your opening.
Wonderful. Well, before I officially get started, I just wanted to let everyone know that we are recording. We're asked to record so that we can post this webinar for students who couldn't participate in real time, but will still benefit from all of your great questions and the awesome responses, insight, and experiences that our panelists can share in response to your questions. I'm Shauna Young. I'm the Dean for the College of Professional Studies, and I'm so glad that you are able to join us now. And I'm so glad for those who will be watching later. I have been waiting for you. I'm just so excited for the year to start, and I'm just so proud and grateful that you chose Humboldt State University as your university and that you chose to join the Lumberjack family. Before we get started, I'll give just a brief, I want to just share a little bit about the College of Professional Studies. We have 7 departments, which include the School of Business, Child Development, Economics, Education, Kinesiology, Recreation and Nursing, Psychology, and Social Work. Those are our 7 departments in the College of Professional Studies. And what I love about our college is what I sort of call the signature of the College of Professional Studies. What makes us who we are is that all of our programs have opportunities for real world, hands-on, applied experiences out in the field. Clinical, internship, service learning, community-based experiences, either required by professional certification, licensure, or accreditation requirements, or optional because our programs think it's so important. Sort of the signature of our college is that we get our students job ready. And so that's just something that I'm particularly proud of and what I think makes our college unique and awesome. Before I introduce the panelists who are students in the College of Professional Studies, I want to just go over a few logistics. You know, I so totally wish that we were doing this in person. I'm bummed that we're not on campus together in a room. seeing each other's faces, but I'm so appreciative of our technology that allows us to do this. But let me just kind of go through some of the tech logistics here. If you take your mouse and scroll down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A box. And you can start to type your questions in to a Q&A box beginning now. And what we'll do is go through those questions, and I'll try to bundle them together, group them by sort of theme, and I'll toss them to I'll ask the question and toss them to our panelists. And panelists, I didn't get a chance to let you know this. Don't feel that all of you have to respond to every question. Jump in on the ones that you think that you have that are relevant to you, or you have a relevant experience or a piece of insight to share. But certainly if all of you have something you want to share with a particular question, we'll definitely go there. And there's also a chat box, which I'm seeing that some folks are already starting to chat. So Lindsay, who is a colleague of mine, Lindsay Ryder. She works with me in the dean's office, and many of you will get to know her during your time at Humboldt State. Lindsay and I are going to keep our eyes on both the Q&A and the chat box and make sure that we don't miss any of the questions. Now on the webinar, I don't think they have the hand raising mechanism because they can't ask a question, right? They can only, oh, we do have hand raising. So then we can unmute them. Okay, so
It looks like we can allow them to talk,
yeah,
or they can type it in the chat. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yep. So we do have the hand raising. So if you want to actually speak your question, raise your blue hand in the participant view over there in the side of your screen, and you can raise your blue hand. And I think our panelists can all see all of those. Can you see the participant panel, the participant view? Jesus, Monique, Dennis, because you can help keep our eyes on the blue hands and the Q&A and the chat also. So, but you guys will be busy sharing all of your expert insight. So I'll start. Let's start with the Q&A. And actually, you know, one of the questions that had already come in, maybe just to get us started, and we'll sort through, because this one always, this particular question seems like a good launching place. I wonder if each of you could introduce yourself, and then, you know, your name, your major, where you were before Humboldt State, and then we can respond to this one question that came in another webinar. Share one tip. If you know, something you really, really wish you knew when you had started at Humboldt State, what's your one most important take-home tip? And then we'll move into our Q&A after that. So who wants to get us started? Introduce yourself and then your one tip. Jesus.
So my name is Jesus Flores. I'm a first year senior studying business administration with a concentration in finance. And I'm from SoCal, a small town called South Amani near Montebello, around there. One tip that I wish I knew would probably be just to go to the professor's office hours and just, whether you don't have a question or not, just kind of like introduce yourself and just be like, oh, hey, I'm your student, because they have a lot of students. So I wish I knew that.
Awesome.
I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of that. My name is Monique Molina. My major is New Venture Management, class of 2020 this year. I'm originally from Sacramento, and if there's one thing that I knew, I would just say to be vulnerable, ask for help, definitely go to your teacher's office hours. They're always there to help you, so.
Nice.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dennis. I am a psychology student in the graduate program at Humboldt State University, originally from the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. And if there's one tip I had to offer incoming students, it would be to get active on campus. Whether it's joining a fraternity or sorority, club or organization, or even just going to sponsored events on campus. Getting active on campus is a really good way to make friends, get to know faculty, and overall feel really connected to the school.
Love it. All three tips, so important. Let's go to the Q&A. Oh, this one's a toughie. Any idea when it will be announced if spring semester will be online? I'm going to take that one. Like this whole experience has been, things evolve, they evolve quickly, they change directions quickly. And at this moment in time, I do not have an answer for when we will be able to announce what the plans are for spring semester. But because it requires so much planning, my guess would be that by mid-fall, we'll be able to start giving we'll be starting to get some indication as to what the spring semester will hold. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of communication during the fall semester so that everyone can plan accordingly. And we'll check out the next one. Who can I contact to get more information about the Kinesiology 4+1 Master's Program? I guess I'll answer that one as well. Justice Ortega is the chair for the Kinesiology, Recreation, and Nursing Department. He's your best first contact. And then if he doesn't answer your question and work with you in terms of advising directly, he will direct you to the graduate program advisor that will answer your questions and get you started. Let's see. Will we be able to log observational hours for studies via Zoom and/or an online aspect? Observational hours. So I guess I will take this one as well to start us, but then for our panelists, if you have some experience with how you navigated the field experience or component in your program, maybe you can provide sort of, or share your experience in how you navigated your hands-on kinds of things in the virtual environment. But I'll start with sort of a general statement. So as I sort of started this whole webinar talking about what makes us who we are in the College of Professional Studies with all of our hands-on, community-based fields, clinical placements, which we typically think of in a occurring in a face-to-face environment. Many of our field placements and observations and all of that have migrated right along with the rest of our curriculum into a virtual environment. It depends is also part of the answer because it depends on where the observation is occurring and what their protocols and what guidance that particular agency or place is following. But for the most part, unless you're in a very specialized exception course, a course that has been provided an exception to be in a face-to-face environment, you will be able to proceed through your program in a virtual environment and do the observations and hands-on experience in a different way through the virtual environment. Do any of you have any experiences doing things in a virtual environment under the COVID protocols that we've been experiencing since last March?
I can actually add a little something to that. So in the psychology department, under SONA, which is this system program that allows students to take studies and gain extra credit for them through their accepted or acknowledged courses. Due to COVID, what we've done is allowed students to take certain studies online rather than having to come in person, and they can still gain credit or extra credit through their courses by doing this online rather than coming in person. I'm not sure if it applies to everyone in the College of Professional Studies, but I do know that at least within like the psychology department, we've begun to implement that.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's a great example. Monique, did you have any field-based observations or experiences, or Jesus, did you have any that you can share? Yeah. Okay.
I do have one this semester. Hasn't quite started yet, but I believe it's BA 482. And it's an internship program, and they moved it all virtual. And so business students are able to actually network with the community, local businesses that have agreed to do a virtual format. So we're able to intern using marketing or any sort of business experience that we have to contribute to their business. So I can't really speak much more than that, but I do know that it's something that I will be experiencing this semester. So.
Awesome. That's a great example of how our field experiences have migrated to the virtual world, just like much of the rest of our curriculum. That's great. Let me peek at the chat here. Okay. Let's see. Okay, good. All right. I think none of those are questions, just fun comments. And now we'll head over to the Q&A. How would you recommend making connections with professors, especially as a transfer student who wants to make connection for grad school and letters of rec? Oh my gosh, what a good question. Who can jump on that?
I could go a little bit. So I think right now that we're like in a virtual environment, the only way you could really connect with your professors would be like emailing them and telling them, hey, I'd like to set up a meeting with you through Zoom and just kind of show your interest in like the program and what you're studying. And I'm sure they'd love to like guide you in the right direction and push you to like internships or people who have resources. Yeah.
Awesome. Who else has some insight to share on this?
I would like to add, definitely just now with everything going online, just send an email out to your professors ahead of time. Just kind of tell them what you're looking for and be upfront, and they're more than willing to make it work. And so from my experience, even some things I was looking to get out of school, like raising my my grade or just like where I was at academically, they were able to work with me and build a plan so that I could reach those goals, even if I did have certain obstacles or whatever. So they're very flexible and open.
Great. Oh, go ahead, Dennis. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to add a little bit to that. So what worked for me to get into the graduate program was, as the other panelists have mentioned, contacting your relevant professors and showing an interest. Professors, as intimidating as they may seem sometimes, are really friendly and helpful people. And if you show an interest in their work, in the course material, etc., they want to help you. They want to help you further your career. They want to see you succeed. And so as scary as it may seem, just opening that door by sending an email like, hey, I really like this course, or I'm not really understanding this material, and just trying to create a friendship, a connection to these professors can open doors to, I think as Jesus was saying, internships, graduate programs, and other wonderful opportunities.
Awesome. There's a really good question in the Q&A. what extra resources will be available, such as secondary study resources, printing, etc., during the limited campus access. And not all of this will I actually have, do I actually know all of the on-campus printing resources available? I know that there were plans, and actually, Lindsay, I'm going to ask you to jump in, being on a committee that has been directly involved in some of the on-campus protocols. My understanding at one point over the summer, as we were preparing for the launch of the fall, was that there would be some dedicated computer lab space open with printing capabilities. And do you happen to know which labs are open?
I will have to look up to see. Maybe I can do that while we're on and try to put
Great.
something. The last that I had heard, which was on Tuesday, there's one in Gist Hall. I think it might be 215. I can't quite remember if it's on the second floor, but there were a couple others, but they were actually looking to expand hours because they were worried that that might not be enough for the need for students who are going to be on campus. So they're going to be expanding that a little bit.
That's the computer lab right as you enter into Gist Hall from the main entrance, which is right in front of the dean's office for the College of Professional Studies. So that's a good one to go to. Okay, that'd be awesome if you can look that up.
I'll see if I can find it. Campus Ready is kind of, I think, the main resource that students should be checking regularly, and information continues to be added and will continue to be added, especially as we get closer to that face-to-face period on campus. So all of those kinds of building hours and those things should be listed there as well, but I'll see what I can find.
I'm going to toss it to the panelists to, I also have some other things that I can share in terms of resources, but I want to let the panelists think about resources that you have accessed and plan to continue to access that are either on campus, but also virtually as the alternative to on-campus resources. So can you think for a moment of things like health center, the counseling and psychological services? There will be some food service available on campus. Any of that that you have been using as we migrated to the virtual world last spring and plan to continue to use this fall?
For me, I've been personally using the library system a lot more. They have increased the databases of like research articles and books and made them available online as well. So now it's easier to go and request an article or a book and read it online on your computer. So that way you don't have to go to the library physically and try to find a copy. You can do most of this stuff now virtually online, and it's really quick as well.
Nice. Monique, I think you were gonna say something.
Yeah, I used, and I'm going to use again, is the tutoring center, and I've been kind of going to them for math tutoring to study like for the GRE, and so they've just been really helpful with that, and it's super simple to use, and I just go in my little student center, and it has a link and everything, and yeah, they give you a live person, a tutor, and you just get a certain amount of time, and it's awesome. So.
Awesome. Another great example of virtual service. Hey, Jesus, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah. So I don't know how El Centro, I don't know if you know about that. It's like this, they have free printing. There's like a lounge. So I don't know how it's going to work in a virtual setting, but I would usually go there just to like finish homework in between classes. Yeah, it's in Nelson Hall, but I'm not too sure how that's going to work.
We're not going to have physical spaces for gathering. So there won't be, I mean, aside from the very closely monitored and controlled computer labs, there's not going to be very many physical locations on campus that will allow for non-controlled access. Lindsay, is there anything else you want to say on that point that bears sharing?
Yes, and I wasn't shushing you. Sorry, I have
No, I know.
in the room.
I got it. I know.
It looks like Natural Resources 203, Science A 364, and Gestalt 215 are going to be the 3 labs that are going to be open. So they're just trying to expand the hours, and not all computers in those labs are going to be available because they'll be distant. So it's every so many computers depending on what the spacing looks like in those rooms. So.
Can you repeat? There's the one in Gist Hall, the one in Forest.
It says Natural Resources 203 and Science A 364. I think it's Natural Resources. It's NR 203 is the way it's listed. I think that must be Natural Resources 203. Yeah. So I'm actually putting it in the chat right now.
Perfect.
And I'm not going to put the hours probably because they might be expanding, or maybe I'll put what I can find. But the other resource is the Keep Learning website. So there's Campus Ready and Keep Learning. These should be somewhere on one of those.
This is another campus resource. Will the gym be available to students? At this time, no. At this time, recreational facilities will not be available for drop-in open rec use. But I'm going to go back. This is a great question for the panelists. Can we ask for letters of recommendation at any time, or is there a form online we have to fill out to request one?
I'll take this question. So with letters of recommendation, you can consider them like an academic reference. So with letters of recommendation, there's a bit of a formality to it. You would need to establish some type of rapport, right, a connection with whoever you're asking, and then asking them formally, would you be okay with writing me a letter of recommendation? Typically, after getting to know a professor over like a semester or two, most professors would say, yeah, I'll write you a letter of recommendation. And typically the way that it goes is that when you, let's say, apply to graduate programs, they will ask you to input the information of the person that will be providing a letter of recommendation, and that university or program will then contact the professor or person that you listed, and they will communicate with them to get that letter of recommendation. So you don't have to be a middleman of like sending one in for them or anything like that.
I had a little tip, an additional tip on that. And so important what Dennis brought up about, once you've established a relationship with faculty to yes, go ahead and ask. And the only thing I would add to that is make sure that you're providing enough time, giving them enough lead time so that they can fit it in and do it well, because you want them not to be under pressure and be able to take the time that it needs to write a strong letter and a meaningful letter of recommendation for you. Let me go peek at the Q&A again. Did anyone else though, Jesus or Monique, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that? Oh, here's another. What advice would you give to stay focused and alert during online lessons in reading, etc.?
I would just say make a friend, and you can always call a friend and talk about what you just read or the homework, or to just keep you engaged and to still like have that connection.
I think since we're like doing class on Zoom, you could always like privately chat a random person on Zoom and hopefully get like their contact information and try to like set up like a study session through Zoom and stuff like that, and just like make friends with people in class in a virtual setting the same way you might like in a regular setting. Yeah.
Those are great. Yeah, staying connected with other people and having study buddies, participating in study groups, just like we would in a face-to-face context. Love that. At regular times, is the gym free to use for all students, or is there a membership or class you have to take? There are open recreational hours for free for students. Your tuition and fees have paid for your, so it's not free, you've already paid for that service. So you would have access to the gym during normal face-to-face operations. Yeah, Jesus.
And there also is classes you could take.
Yeah.
Everything else is more face-to-face, like strength and conditioning. And if you're like new to the gym and you don't know how to use the tools, those classes are really good starters, or you can always have a gym buddy to teach you.
Yeah, thank you for catching the rest of that question. There are courses in our college that you can take. Okay. Will there be any outlook on study abroad programs? For example, Montessori in Europe, etc. That is also something that we just don't have guidance on right now. We don't know, we don't have a clear picture on what kind of travel restrictions will continue to be in place and at what time those will be lifted. So again, that's another stay tuned kind of question and response, and information about our international programs and study abroad will come out as we know more. Sort of an unfulfilling, that's not a very satisfactory response. If we can't enroll in classes for fall, does that affect our transcript if we start in the spring? I guess I'll take that one too. These are, some of these are not necessarily student panelist questions, but we have had deferred, you can defer to the spring. So I would direct you to the admissions, Office of Admissions, to get those kinds of questions accurately addressed. But a spring deferral is possible. Okay, let's find one that we can toss to the panelists. Oh, let's see. So should you ask professors, for a letter of recommendation 2 years before applying to grad school or later?
I think that you would want to ask for letters of recommendation potentially the semester before you plan to apply to a program. So if the program, the deadline for programs, for example, PhD or master's programs is in, let's say, July, definitely start, talking to your professor or advisor or whomever well in advance, maybe a couple of months. Years, not so much, just maybe 2 months to give them some time to write something up for you.
Will we have a roommate for spring 2021? Are any of you living on campus? Yeah, so again, conditions change rapidly during the pandemic. And so what the living conditions will be in terms of how students are grouped and what kinds of distancing protocols will need to be in place at that time, we'll have to stay tuned for that as well, to see if what we currently, the situation that we're currently under, if it changes and changes the guidance for housing. So again, it's nearly impossible to project what any of the circumstances and protocols will be for spring at this point in time. It's just too early to know. And I think Dennis just basically answered this one about a reasonable time to ask for a letter of recommendation. I think he essentially responded to that one. Let's see. When should you start studying for the GRE? Where do you get resources to study for it?
That I would start, depends on like how much time you want to dedicate towards it. Usually 3 to 4 months in advance is ideal. I use the, you can go on the ETS website and get all the materials there. They have free practice tests, books, 20 to 50 bucks, but they have test drills and everything else that you need to know. It just basically replicates what's on the exam. And then there's also GRE study groups. So I found it challenging to go through this material. It's kind of stressful, right? Because it's just like, you know, you want to do as best as you can. But, and so I found a good resource, and I think I'll send it as a link. But every Thursday they have a hour-long group of just people all over the US logging in to talk about where they're at, and you can either link up after the Zoom and study with them. But I would ideally say 3 to 4 months. Don't push it longer than that, because you kind of still want the material fresh. And if you need tutoring, I think it would be a good idea to start tapping into the GRE test material while you're going to school and you have access to free math tutoring. So thanks.
Okay. And I'm just, I was texting the Director of Housing to make sure that I provide an accurate response for a question that I saw in the Q&A. Just to be sure, hold on just a second. I am confirming what spaces are shared and what is single occupancy. So everyone has a single room in housing right now. Everyone is assigned to a single room. But what I'm getting clarification on, and I'll update once I receive my next text, I was asking about what the shared spaces, if there are any shared spaces such as restrooms or kitchenette areas and so forth. So I will give an update when I get that information. Let's see what else is in our Q&A. And do we have any blue hands raised? I haven't checked over there. Okay. Oh, this question. Are we able to utilize any other Cal State campuses? Let me first ask if any of you have done any online courses at any of our sister CSU campuses while we've been in the virtual setting. Okay. Here's my response to that. So it is, we have, you can actually enroll in courses at any campus through Open University. And what I would, not caution is not the right word, but what I would want to make sure that you do before you enroll for any courses at another campus, and as transfer students, you know what I'm talking about. You would want to make sure that any course that you choose to take at another CSU campus through, for example, Open University, that course will be counted toward your requirements here at Humboldt State, whether it's a GE, like a GE requirement that you might still have remaining, or a course in your major. Be particularly careful about courses in your major. Make sure that you're connecting with your advisor, with your major advisor, before you make a decision about enrolling in a course at another CSU. Not sure if this is a question for y'all, but how do you get Zoom meeting information for classes in which you're waitlisted? I don't think that that is a possibility because you need to be registered in the course in order to have access to the sessions.
I think maybe where the question's coming from is like when you were waitlisted, you could always like drop in a class and hopefully the professor will like put you in the class. So maybe emailing the professor, if you could find an email to see if they could give you like an access code to the class. Yeah, that's my best guess.
Okay. So I really appreciate, I like Jesus's response in that, so that wouldn't happen automatically, but if you are really interested and to reach out to the faculty member is your best chance. That's a great answer. Let's see. Oh, is it time? Is it 2:20 already? Oh no. Okay, let's do one last question. I have an answer to the waitlist question. They told me to email the professor to get the info. Okay, you were right, Jesus. Perfect. Sounds like there's more than one of you. Is a technical difficulty a reason to dismiss tardies? Panelists, have you experienced any? And then I'll share what I think my response to that question would be. But have you experienced? That's a really good maybe question to close out on is the being in this virtual environment. How have you navigated some of the technical difficulties and asking for flexibility, and what's your experience been with faculty in that regard?
I'm going to answer that. I took a summer course online and I had, there was like a technical difficulty where the internet just kind of stopped and dropped the whole Zoom. And so what I did was email my professor right away as soon as it dropped and just said, hey, like, this is what happened, and is there another time that like we can either connect by phone or I can retry at this time. And so my professor just kind of emailed me the information I needed to know. And so we did it that way and it seemed to work out.
That's fantastic. Jesus, Dennis, do you have any other insights into that or experiences with technical difficulties and working it out with faculty?
I think professors know the situation and they're super lenient with everything, so they're not going to like punish you or like drop, just talk to them. They should be understanding.
That's great. Yeah, and my suggestion was going to be to stay in communication with your faculty member. Don't let that technical difficulty distance you. Reach out, send them an email, and stay connected, and let them know what's going on. They can't help adapt if they don't know what's going on. So, agreed. I think we are out of time, so we will, this will be posted, I guess. If there's anything you want to go back to, this session will be posted. And I just want to say thanks so much to our panelists, Jesus, Dennis, Monique. Appreciate your insights, sharing your experiences and suggestions. And I'm so glad that you all participants were able to be here today. I'm looking forward to meeting you on campus sometime soon. Thanks, everyone.